Hello, thank you for joining us for Inside City Council. I'm your host, Al Butler. Today we're joined by City Councilman Bobby Henon. How you doing, sir?
Great, Al. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
Taxes. It's a big thing in the city right now, property taxes especially. Talk to us about the issue as you see it.
Al, taxes is absolutely a big issue, and people want to know, the citizens of Philadelphia want to know what they're paying for their taxes and what we're doing about the uncollected taxes, the tax delinquencies that has been built up over the years. So, in advance to our property tax, new AVI, a reevaluation of our property tax system, and uncertain on how those numbers are going to come out, as we weren't sure and still unclear on how this whole process is going to unfold. A few council members, and most council members actually, wanted to deal with the tax delinquency. So the 6 new freshmen, because we have new energy here in City Council, and council as whole, decided to take a shot at, reevaluating our collection process with tax delinquencies. We started a very high energy, new aggressive approach to finding out our efficiencies and deficiencies with our tax collections here in the city of Philadelphia. And why taxes are important? Because taxes are important. Taxes provide us with the resources for our schools to help keep our kids safe and provide them the materials. It helps for our school teachers. It helps for our crossing guards. It helps for our police and our fire, our libraries, and many other life safety, L&I concerns that we have here in the city of Philadelphia. So, collecting those back taxes are extremely important. And not only collecting our back taxes, but paying our taxes. We feel that tax fairness is important, that everybody should be paying their taxes if they can. And if they don't, we're asking people to come forward and ask for help. I mean, we understand that the economy's bad and sometimes personal issues fall and lay upon us, and the city is here to be helpful. We as elected officials want to be helpful, but everybody should pay their fair share of taxes for the resources, again, such as tax, trash collection and other services, great services that our municipal unions provide for the residents of Philadelphia. So we introduced the 6 new freshmen with that new energy and vigor. We introduced 6 resolutions to deal with the tax delinquencies in a public, open forum where we can understand, the citizens in a transparent way, in a public hearing, could understand what the processes are in collecting our back taxes. Our tax collection hearings will deal with owner-occupied tax delinquencies, investment residential tax delinquencies, commercial tax delinquencies, and vacant property tax delinquencies, as well as big picture ideas and solutions and best practices around the country. We should not be 24 out of 25 municipalities, great municipalities in this country. We could do better. We're a first-class city.
You mentioned wanting to kind of clean up how this whole process has been going in the city for so many years. As you see it, how did we get to this point now?
I'm not sure how we got to this point now, but we want to shed light on that in a public forum to understand what the processes are. We have dug ourselves a major hole, a big hole of tax delinquency that may or may not have been warranted. So over the years, we've dug this big hole of tax delinquency. Some tax delinquencies, have dated back to 30 years, 20 years, 10 years. Why? Let's figure out why and start to dig ourselves out of a hole. I want to thank my colleagues who are aggressively, joining together, and council as a whole, in addition to these resolutions, who want to tackle this issue. And I think the citizens of Philadelphia deserve to know what the process is. Before I got to City Council, I would never have known what the process is for our tax collections here in the city of Philadelphia. So, why we have these hearings, when we have these hearings, we're going to ask some poignant questions, some specific questions, and we're going to ask for the data to help better understand the process of our tax collections. Everybody should be paying something, and if not, a part of this taxpayer initiative that we are collectively initiating here, it's an education. We want to inform the public and educate the public on what they can and they cannot do as far as their taxes and what resources we have. We want to provide the city with resources, the citizens and resources, to make sure that they don't dig deeper in the hole themselves. So we're here to help, and we want to better understand the whole process ourselves.
What do you say to people in the city who are concerned that they pay taxes, obviously, but that they may feel like they're paying more than their share as far as the city goes? What do you say to folks who have those concerns?
Well, I think that you have a legitimate concern. We're going to have hearings here. I ask everybody to come, attend a hearing, to do some research, look online, go to taxpayerfairness.com, right, and get updates on, the process if you're unable to come down for the hearings, and pay attention to the budget process. I mean, the city actually wants to help.
When you look at the problem of delinquent taxes and you look at the individual homeowner, you have businesses, obviously, who have more economic resources, usually that they're able to address some of their back tax issues. Individual citizens may not have that money to pull from right away if they're given a bill of X amount of money. How do you navigate that?
Well, right now, past practice, it has been based on an individual situation. So, what the city has tried to do is ask for a certain percentage and amount of money, up front, and then get put on a payment plan. Sometimes people just can't, pay half or whatever arrangement that they have, between them and the revenue department, to start getting out of the hole. I mean, we got to realize that, there is a hole that people need to get out of, right? But together, all right, and efficiently, we can work towards getting people back on the tax rolls and paying for the system so we can continue to get the great services that the city has. And we have incredible services here in the city of Philadelphia, but everybody should be aware of the resources that we have, the programs that we have, and everybody should pay something if they're a tax delinquent. We're here to help. We just need to educate the public on what those resources are and how we can work together to make sure that everybody's paying something.
When you attract new businesses and citizens to the city of Philadelphia, one of the things, the tax abatement, and there have been some other programs that have really worked well to bring people into the city of Philadelphia. How do you balance attracting new people with the people who are already here and that tax structure and how things get doled out and who pays what?
Well, I think we need to seriously have tax reform. There needs to be a more predictable system in place where businesses can come into the city of Philadelphia and know what they need to pay. All right? We can't be changing the rules midstream while we're trying to attract businesses and broaden our tax base. But we also want to make sure that those tax burdens don't get shifted on the residents. All right? It's not it's not fair for the residents to be footing the bill for our entire tax system that we're in the taxes that we're trying to collect here. I mean, and that's not fair all the way. It's very complicated. It's very complicated, and it's going to take a lot of hard work and due diligence to talk about these things in an open floor, in a public way, in a transparent way, where people know what's going on with our taxes and how it's collected and what onerous concerns that either businesses and the taxpayers of Philadelphia have and their concerns. We are here to help. We want to know what the problems are, what the issues are, and we're asking for input to make our system a little better if people have suggestions.
The hearing process, how's that going to work? How long will that last? And then what's the process after that?
Well, we're going to have 2 days of hearings. So after 2 days of great hearings and awesome conversation, which I fully intend it will be, we're going to take a lot of that information, data, look at next steps moving forward, and hopefully put together a process that or make suggestions to the administration on the process that they should be looking at to help make our tax collection a lot more efficient. So we see and hear everything from a $500 million tax delinquency that's aggregate that's out there to $1 billion. So what is it? Hopefully, some of the data that we can extract from these hearings will give us real information on what is out there and what are the best practices, what are the big ideas, and can we move forward with implementing some more efficient ways in our tax collections.
What kinds of powers does a city have? One of the issues that comes up is that the city has taken people to court over the years to get that money. And as you mentioned, there have been people who've owed money for years, sometimes decades, and they've been to court and there's still no settlement in that. What can the city do outside of going to court to get some of that money? Well,
depending upon the situation, the state has passed Act 135, where a vacant or abandoned property or tax delinquent property, if it's been for years, where an individual or a nonprofit or a group can actually file for a receivership, fix up the house. Act 135 is a great tool where that money can be set aside for those who are trying to recover, their property. In any case, while that happens, that property gets put back on the market and gets put back into the tax rolls, and money keeps coming into the city, instead of a vacant property that's blighting up a neighborhood, that's taking down the property values to 20% on the block and in the surrounding area. I mean, we have hard data that proves that multiple violations on coupled with tax delinquencies and property owners and neglect brings the property values down 20 to 22% in the neighborhoods. So that's destroying our neighborhoods. So I think we need to take an aggressive stance and position on how we collect. And for those who can pay, we want to make sure that they pay. Council President Clark and myself has introduced a bill where it gives the authority of the city of Philadelphia to go outside Philadelphia jurisdiction and enter in judgments on people's investment properties if they own property here in the city of Philadelphia, whether it's commercial or residential, and actually take them to court and retrieve the money that they owe to the city of Philadelphia. So everybody has been stepping up here in city council and coming up with great creative ideas to address the tax delinquencies and the issues that we've been having for years. So I think this is a good idea to put it all together, see what we have collectively, and come up with a plan that better serves the city of Philadelphia, so we're not unduly taxing, through property taxes, those folks who have been responsible for over the years and have been fortunate not to fall on some hard times, because we understand that.
How big is a problem with the absentee landlords and other folks who have property for whatever reason have just left the city and can't be readily found? Is that a large part of this tax delinquency issue, or
that is a large part? You have irresponsible landlords, and I say irresponsible because there are some good responsible landlords here in the city of Philadelphia who coach their kids and neighborhood, participate in their community groups and buy shirts for their boys and girls clubs, and there's a lot of good responsible businessmen. Now there's also the flip side of that. There are irresponsible landlords who have 19, 20, 300, 500 properties here in the city of Philadelphia, who live outside the city of Philadelphia, who are tax delinquent, who just lien one or two properties because it's property specific and it doesn't carry with them, on their other properties. So we're really trying to crack down on that, gaming the system, as I call it. Council President Clark and myself also, dealing with the Philadelphia state delegation, they have introduced a bill in Harrisburg where those judgments or those tax delinquencies follow that investor that is outside the city of Philadelphia, and that they will be liened on their own property that they own and property and their property that's outside the city of Philadelphia. So we have to change behavior, and sometimes we got to be a little bit tough on folks who willfully gain the system at our expense, because we live here.
Does the city of Philadelphia have the power to take property?
City of Philadelphia does have the power to take property. You have Act 90, which again is another act which allows that process to take place. Also, with doors and windows and unsafe, unfit properties. We also have the ability to, in some cases, as see fit from the city solicitor, to take these delinquencies to court, to sheriff's sale, and force them to sheriff's sale, whether they're foreclosures or municipal sales. And we have that ability to do that as a city. It's about taxpayer fairness. So we're going to encourage, in certain situations, that the city actually move forward to getting these cases over to the courts and having the courts put judgments on and taking the properties and putting them back on the rolls. And it all comes down to dollars and cents. So we have an excess of 10,000 properties that the city of Philadelphia owns. There's no reason that we should be sitting on those properties. We need to move it. We need to do something. We need to be aggressive, and we got to stop putting the burdens on the residents of the city of Philadelphia.
If you could, those 10,000 homes, those 10,000 properties,
roughly
10,000 properties, how do you think the city should be getting rid of those?
A couple other ideas that we've been, talking about is resale on sheriff sales. If there's a property, people show up at a sheriff sale and nothing moves, I'd like to see a resale right then and there on a spot instead of having it listed for another time. Let's get it done. Let's move it right now, and let's give people the opportunities to buy their first house at an affordable price in a neighborhood where they want to start their family.
On the website, a great website, one of the things I noticed that you have council folks holding up signs that talk about what taxes pay for.
That's right.
Why was that important to include?
Well, I think it's important because I'm not sure people realize what the taxes, that we pay, go towards. They pay not just for our tax collection or trash collection. I mean, that's obvious. People pay your taxes. We want to, that's a great service that we provide. And it's our police, it's our fire, it's our crossing guards, to keep our kids safe. It's our schools, it's our libraries. So there's a lot of services that the cities have. It's our rec centers where our kids are playing many different kinds of sports, where families and friends gather together and act as communities. That's what our taxes pay for. We forget about it sometimes, all right? And it's important. And once you talk to a citizen of Philadelphia and a neighbor or a parent, a family, or brother or a sister, and you say, hey, you know what? This is why we pay taxes. They understand.
Councilman, tell us about the Problem Property Advisory Committee.
It's a good question. Problem Property Advisory Committee was something that I thought of when I was running for 6th Councilmatic District. Knocking on doors, and overwhelmingly, absentee landlords and problem properties was the #1 issue that we had out in the communities. And when I took office, it has been 60 to 65% of the telephone calls that comes into my office. Now, I opened up a district office, so I'm very proud of that. So I am out there in the community, hearing those calls, listening to those complaints on a regular basis. One of the things that I've done when I came into office and dealing with absentee landlords, and not just landlords, problem property. So you could be an owner-occupied resident and just let your property look like crap and just look like a blighted mess. Right? It's a problem. And nobody wants to live next to that. It brings down the morale of the neighborhood. It brings down the quality of life of the neighborhood. It brings down the continuity of a neighborhood, the look and feel. And there's also health and safety issues when it comes to a problem property. So I started a Problem Property Advisory Committee, which we meet on a monthly basis, where we bring members of the communities. I have 2 members of each community throughout my district meet on a monthly basis, where we bring problem properties to the table and discuss these issues on the properties on an individual basis. So property by property, we're going to try to change the quality of life and the look and feel and the morale and the health and safety of our neighborhoods, one property at a time. Now, I'm not doing this alone. I'm not only doing it with a collaborative effort with my office and the community leaders and community representatives. I'm doing it with the city of Philadelphia. I'm doing it with some of our departments who have been incredibly helpful and forthright in trying to provide information to the residents in a public way. It's open to the public. We encourage everybody to come, but the Department of L&I has been wonderful. The commissioner has been fantastic, our new commissioner, in working and believing in this effort on a individual basis, property to property basis. It's been very successful. So I have the collaborative effort with L&I, with the CLIP program, which is part of the managing director's office with L&I inspectors, with the streets department and the water department. So these agencies, we talk about, the city living in silos and we're operating under silos. Well, here, all right, everybody's working together and we're taking a property by property issue as it's submitted. All right, it was formed last year. We have minutes, we have bylaws, we have committee members who vote whether a property, if they meet the criteria for a problem property, deserves to take the next steps or not. Right? And we do our due diligence on identifying what the problem is on a property. So if you meet the criteria of a unsafe, unfit, from L&I property, if you have 3 or more violations in a property maintenance violations in a year, in a calendar year, if you are tax delinquent for 2 years or more, and a couple other criterias that we look at to see if that meets the problem property status. And once it becomes problem property status, it's voted on as a group together, and then we take a look at the next steps with the city agencies in my office to figure out what are the next steps on trying to address these issues. And I can tell you it has been a huge success. We have transformed some of these homes. They put in new doors and windows. We have new roofs on properties. I have landlords who own multiple properties who have cleaned up their property. All right. I've also had hearings, all right, in the city council, combined hearing with public property and L&I, and I've subpoenaed landlords in problem properties. All right. So they know that it's a priority of mine. They know that cleaning up their property and being a responsible citizens and having dignity and respect for your neighbors is extremely important. And we've had great success in doing this. The properties have over the last year the submitted properties have decreased. All right, and that's a testament to everybody who's been a part of this problem property advisory committee, from the community members to the multiple departments in the city of Philadelphia, my office, who has taken lead and has made strides in our efforts to clean up our neighborhoods one property at a time.
People who are concerned about a problem property around them, how can they inform you? Well,
we're 2013 now, so we have technology at our fingertips. So you could do it 2 ways. You can call my office, my district office. You can visit my website, bobbyhenon.com. Right, it gives you instructions about the Bad Neighbor Initiative, the Problem Property Advisory Committee, when they meet, how, where they meet, and what time they meet, so they can, people can get involved. Or also, the third one I never mentioned is I have an app. It's called the City Hall app, and it's City Hall at your fingertips. So you can download, if you have an iPhone, you can download City Hall app, and you can also, I know we're busy,